Welcome back to the Kyle Olson Show. This is from the Unlocked Michigan website. Since March 23rd, Michigan has been under one of the strictest lockdowns of the country due to Governor Gretchen Whitmer's abuse of power and the use of an outdated World War II-era law. Using this obscure, antiquated law, Governor Whitmer has issued a blizzard of more than 100 executive decrees, quickly closing in on 200, with no accountability to your elected representatives, no public input, and no end in sight. Unlock Michigan is organizing a petition drive to do something about that, and joining me now is Fred Wszolek to discuss that. So first, tell me exactly what the petition does.
We have a really simple petition. Sometimes these things could take an hour or two to read. Ours is one sentence long. It simply repeals this 1945 law that allows the governor to govern by decree without any oversight from the legislature. There's another emergency powers law from 1976 that gives the governor some emergency powers in the case of a legit emergency. Like, we get hit by a hailstorm, the state's paralyzed,
Sure.
and she has to act rapidly. That law still will be there for a governor to act. But an emergency would only last at most 28 days unless the legislature renewed the state of emergency. In this case, some governor, not necessarily this governor, some governor in the future could declare a state of emergency on their first day in office and govern that way without accountability for 4 straight years. That seems like a fairly big oversight in the way these laws were written.
Well, and of course, Governor Whitmer recently extended, what was it, the 4th time, I think, recently extended the state of emergency. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of pushback. One of my frustrations in all of this as a conservative, and for people who don't know, the Republicans control both the House and the Senate in the state legislature. One of my concerns is that it doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of real serious pushback. And so now it's left up to citizens, and specifically your organization, Unlock Michigan, to do something about it. It's been really interesting to see on social media so many people organizing, at stores or at machine shops or parks or wherever it may be, hosting these petition signings. Talk a little bit about sort of the grassroots effort that's been going on related to the petition.
It's been pretty phenomenal. I mean, we've been at this for now actively about 5 weeks that we've been in the field circulating petitions. We had about a 2-week ramp-up period prior to that. We've now recruited about 60,000 grassroots activists to circulate petitions, and they are pretty darn self-organizing. They don't wait for instructions from headquarters. They're out there, just doing this on their own, and they're very entrepreneurial. I mean, they're exactly what you would want in this sort of instance. They go where they can, they set up, they tell people on Facebook that they're hosting these signing events, and then people come, and and then we just hear about it later, and it's fantastic. It's the most exciting sort of grassroots thing I've seen in quite a while. I mean, they're really frustrated because, the governor seems to just be calling audibles left and right. I mean, and the rules, of course, don't apply to her. So she shut down every bar in, northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. There were 0 hospitalizations related to COVID in the Upper Peninsula at the time she shut down the bars there. The curve doesn't get any flatter than that. And of course, they have a relatively short season to make their entire year.
Right.
So it's destroying their livelihood for the entire year, and nobody understands why. Now, at the same time, the governor herself is attending a 600-person National Guard event in Grayling, and then comes to Traverse City for the memorial service for former Governor Milliken, hundreds of people at an indoor funeral that has literally been illegal now for 4 months. You can't get more than 10 people together to mourn your grandfather. But if it's a former governor, then 600 is fair. Whatever. I mean, people are frustrated by that. The legislature has been pushing back as hard as they can, but, face it, the legal process grinds very slowly. Getting, an appeal all the way through the Supreme Court is a year-long project at a minimum. So the hands of the legislature are relatively tied when the governor can veto anything that pushes back, in any sort of systematic way.
Right. And now, instead of offering more information, because I've seen so many people say, and, I live in Muskegon County, and people say, well, what data is she using? What data is she using to make these decisions? And the media, for whatever reason, never asked that question, at least in sort of, a very assertive, demanding an answer kind of way. And now the governor has restricted her press conferences to Zoom only. So reporters can participate via Zoom, but of course that means, they can be basically regulated and they can't just necessarily ask any question they want. So she's really sort of restricted any sort of questioning. So talk a little bit about, you mentioned the 60,000 activists who are participating, which, that has to be unprecedented in and of itself, to have 60,000 activists, average citizens saying, I want to do something about this, and I'm going to circulate petitions. Where does that put you in the process? Because how many petition signatures do you need?
We need to turn in 340,000 valid signatures. So we're going to turn in, we think, around 500,000, just to pick a round number. Mm-hmm. That gives us enough margin of error to be fine when they validate our signatures. And there will be some mistakes made. And there's a lot of ways a signature on a petition can go wrong. If you use ditto marks because your husband signed ahead of you, that's one way they can disqualify your signature. Use ditto marks for your address or your zip code or something. We also know that the left is organizing on Facebook, and we see a stream of posts all around every day encouraging people to go sign with fake names and to sign repeatedly so that those signatures can be disqualified. Of course, that's election fraud. That's illegal. So they're, in a systematic conspiracy, I'll use that word, they're organizing on Facebook to defraud this petition collection process. So good luck with that. But we announced about a week and a half ago that we were at the first 100,000 signatures in the first 3 weeks. We'll probably hit another milestone in a little while coming up here, and we're going to knock this out pretty quickly. We have 180 days from the launch to collect our signatures, but we're not going to take anywhere near that long given the level of grassroots activism that's out there.
So explain. You get the 500,000 signatures. You get the sufficient amount, whatever that ends up being. What happens after that?
They go to the Bureau of Elections and they validate, the number of signatures that we've turned in, and then from there, the Board of State Canvassers certifies the sufficiency, and then the legislature has 40 session days to vote on our proposal. If they pass it, it becomes law without needing the governor's signature. If they don't pass it in that period of time, or they actually defeat it on a roll call vote, then it goes on the 2022 ballot alongside the re-election of this governor.
Has Speaker Chatfield and Majority Leader Shirkey indicated what they would do?
This language has already passed the state Senate, so we're extremely confident that they would vote the same way if given another chance. And we understand that Speaker Chatfield is, enthusiastically for this and would be very likely to bring it to a vote. We can't predict the future, but our activists are going to be pressing their candidates for the legislature very hard to take a stand on this. And then we'll hold them to that, when this comes before the legislature.
So if someone wants to get involved, how can they do that?
And then go to unlockmichigan.com and sign up, and we'll get petitions in their hands right away. We're having some problems with the Postal Service on some of that. As you might have read, the Postal Service is not making itself proud right now. But we'll get you petitions as rapidly as we possibly can. And, get involved. If you want to just help out and you don't want to, bother with going to our website, just go on Facebook and look for Unlock Michigan. And if there's an event already happening near you, just show up and help out. And they'll show you how to get it done and how to circulate petitions properly. It's not that hard, and there's a lot of patriots out there working hard every week to make this happen fast.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see, and it's amazing to see the number of people, because I'm based in Michigan. I've been covering a lot of the lockdowns and the protests and all of that, and the governor's executive orders for Breitbart, and it's really amazing to see, I guess what I would call the disconnect between what the governor is doing and the practical reality. You take schools, for example. They're supposed to be opening in the next couple weeks. I personally am in a situation where I would have kids in 3 different schools, high school, middle school, and elementary school. And there's a very real prospect that I will be, managing their education. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of concern about that, about the practical implication of closing schools, of telling people that they can't work, making it, or I don't know about making it, but certainly not making it easy for people to file for unemployment, all of that sort of thing. And so it's really interesting to see people sort of channel their frustration when it comes to this sort of thing. So Fred Wszolek, he is with Unlock Michigan. Again, you can go to unlockmichigan.com to participate. But thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much.
This is the Kyle Olson Show. Thanks for joining me today. For more of my work, go to Breitbart.com or find me on Twitter, Kyle Olson4. Use the same handle for Parler, Kyle Olson4. KYLEOLSON and the number 4. Again, this is the Kyle Olson Show.